welcome back to the Minorities Report podcast. My name is Antonio Alcazar.
And I'm Jason Tech.
And we're back. We're back, and we're starting with a Patreon episode. That's how much we love you guys on Patreon.
We're back at it. We're basically this movie is just a month behind. We're a month behind on Matrix. It came out and right around Christmas time. We were going to do it right around late December, early January. Yeah. Is what it is. Here we are dropping it for you, but we'll have a bunch of Patreon stuff coming, so we appreciate you not dropping off the Patreon.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff coming up for the Patreon. I'm actually kind of excited about really kind of focusing in on the stuff that we're doing for Patreon. I think it's good to have a regular show, a free show, a show that's just accessible and fun. But now that there's people that are legitimately supporting us and helping us to make this easier on us on our side, it'll just be nice to kind of just focus on and do a bunch of stuff for you guys. So again, we appreciate everything, all the kind words, and especially you helping us out on the Patreon. So yeah, just know that you're definitely in our hearts.
We love you, man. And when you see us at conventions, because we go to conventions, we got free handies and hugs for you. Either choice you get. You can get a handshake or a hug. It's up to you.
Free handies and hugs.
That's what we got for you, man. Yeah. So come at us. So today we are covering the latest entry from the Wachowski sisters or whatnot. Or actually, it's only one of them this time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the
Matrix 4
did not work on this together.
Yes.
The Wachowskis, it was only one that did this one. Yeah.
Yes. And it was directly to HBO. Did you watch this movie on HBO or did you go to the theaters?
I went to the theaters, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, I went to the theaters. I wanted to give this movie what I gave the first movies.
Okay.
Which was
undivided attention.
My undivided attention.
Popcorn in the face, that's about it.
Dude, honestly, this was something that I never expected to happen.
Okay.
And it was something that is very near and dear to my heart.
What's that?
The Matrix.
Yeah, that's right. You are a Matrix fanatic because it came out at the perfect time.
Exactly. It came out at the perfect time for me. So the first Matrix movie came out in 1999.
When you say it like that, it blew my mind.
It hurts a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It stings. So in the year 1999, the Wachowskis released the Matrix, and I did not watch it in 1999. I watched it in the year 2000. So I was 12 years old when I watched this movie, and it blew my fucking mind. It blew my fucking mind.
Of course.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was like...
It was mind-blowing.
It was absolutely mind-blowing. And then I watched the movie a lot of times in between this one and Reloaded coming out. But when Matrix Reloaded came out, what year did it come out? 2003?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think so.
So at this point, I'm 15 years old.
Got it.
Now, a 15-year-old... is watching movies a little differently than a 12-year-old. And a 12-year-old had his mind blown. When I was 15 and this movie came out, I wanted to watch it, you know how like you always tell me about how you always go to the movies a shit ton of times?
Yes.
You know, like especially back in the day?
Yes.
I watch movies on repeat, right? But to go to the theater multiple times, no movie really breaks 2 times. It's very hard and few and far between to find a movie where I'm going to go more than 2 times. The Matrix Reloaded, I went 8 times to the theater.
8 times?
I couldn't believe how much I fucking love this.
Wow, that's fucking mind-blowing to me, dude.
Yeah. I went to this movie a lot.
You do know my record, right?
What? Yeah, well, I'm sure you've told it to me, but what is it?
Phantom Menace 13 times.
That's crazy.
I didn't even like the movie that much. But it was a different time. Yes. We should point out.
It was 99.
Yes.
And you weren't 12.
Right. I was 19.
Yeah.
And I could do things on my own. I got my driver's license at 18. So shortly before that.
Yeah.
It was before I was even 19 that movie came out. I was 18 years old going to it. It was like one of the first movies I went to on my own and just did my thing.
Yeah.
And in 99, it wasn't like well, pre-COVID, where we had new movies every single week, big
Yeah.
new movies every single week.
Yeah, and also that movie, while not good,
Yes.
had two very fun, memorable scenes.
Yes.
The pod racing stuff.
Yep.
And the
Final
Darth Maul fight.
Yes.
That Darth Maul fight.
Yes.
Like,
It was great.
it's almost worth watching the movie just for that 3-minute scene.
And I think it's important. We should point this out too, because even with your Matrix, right? If we watch Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man movie, right? We see the fight between Green Goblin and and they're just beating the fuck out of each other, throwing each other through the buildings and stuff like that. We watch that in the theater and we're like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Then a week later, we're like, I want to see that again.
Yeah.
We go to YouTube and we watch that scene again.
Yes.
We don't have to go to the theater again to see the movie again.
I could stream it and
Yes.
just go to that scene, watch it, and then turn it off. Yeah, yeah. It's a
99
very
you
different
couldn't do that.
experience.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Especially, that kind of accessibility changed why you would watch a movie on repeat.
It was 8 months before you got it in your house.
Yeah, but it's something more.
Yes.
Now, then, 8 months later, Revolutions came out.
Right. Back to back, that was one.
Yeah, and I was again 15, but more importantly, I was at the height of me watching Dragon Ball Z, and at the height of me liking anime, and when Neo and Agent Smith are fighting in the fucking rain, flying around like Dragon Ball Z characters, I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever fucking watched. I can't fucking believe it. Now, it's funny how my relationship with the Matrix has changed over the years, but my love for it never has.
Of course.
I had forgotten. I said this to very close family to me. I had forgotten how important The Matrix was to me until I watched this movie.
Okay.
Matrix 4.
Sure.
Because when I was watching it, I was just like, dude, there is something so comfortable about this world. There's something so engaging about this world.
It's comfort level for you. It's something that you feel great in.
I know the characters. I cared about it. I was interested. I knew the lore. I've heard a lot of people discuss and review this movie, and they're all like, and then this fucking I can't remember what it's called, or then they did this thing. Who gives a shit about that character? I was like, I'm the guy that remembers the name of of the cities. I'm the guy who remembers the name of the characters. That to me spoke volumes about who was going to enjoy this movie. I think if anybody was going to enjoy this movie, it was going to be me. But
so I want to point this out.
Yeah.
You liked the first one.
I loved the first one.
You loved the second one.
I loved the second one.
The third one?
Loved the third
Okay.
one.
I loved the first one.
Okay.
It was fucking just like you.
Came out in
mind-blowing.
Yeah, you were 18.
Came out around the same
It was
period.
even better for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and Blade came out within 6 months of each other or something like that.
Yeah.
And both these movies were just
Yeah. This is the best year for
amazing.
cinema.
These
Yeah,
are
for sure.
amazing movies in the theater, especially, right?
Yeah.
Then Matrix 2 came out, and I was at the point where I remember I was like, okay, cool, let's
I
check
bet you
this
that
out.
movie was going to be better for me than it was for you. I think a 15-year-old would have enjoyed that movie more than a 24-year-old.
Yeah, I was in the military at the time, and I remember seeing this movie and being like, everything after they meet the architect, I love. Everything before they meet the architect, I hate.
What? After they meet the architect?
Yeah, isn't that what his name is?
But but nothing happens after they meet the architect.
Yeah, they talk shit, they fight, they do the freeway scene.
Oh,
All
no.
that stuff.
You're talking about the Merovingian.
Who's the architect?
The architect is the guy, the white guy.
Yeah. Not George Carlin. No, I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about.
The Merovingian. Yeah.
Right, sorry.
So pre-Merovingian scene,
Yes.
post-Merovingian scene,
Loved every minute of it.
Yes.
And I was like, I wish this was more of the movie rather than
We're going to go into that.
Okay.
Because that I've heard and I've thought about a lot.
Okay.
And I have something to say specifically about
I love them weaving in the mythologies of werewolves and stuff like that. That was so awesome to me.
Yeah.
Third movie. But then I was like, you know what I hate about this? I just realized this is very much... You know what I would compare this to?
Yeah.
The 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Okay.
And why I say that is I watched the first one, absolutely loved it. Watched the second one, towards the end I liked it. Third one, Well, that was a piece of shit. But it was.
yeah.
But in the second one, I realized, you know what I love about this movie more than Neo? Agent Smith.
Interesting.
And episode 2 doesn't have Agent Smith at all, really. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Episode 3 is all about Agent Smith.
And you like 3.
And I love the stuff with Agent Smith and Neo and all the complex like discussions and like, you know, reflections and things like that. I love all of that. Okay.
So you like those 3 movies then?
I would say definitely. It would be hard pressed for me to be like, I don't like these movies, right? They have issues. I'm not saying they don't have issues, but I definitely like those movies. Okay. Coming to The Matrix 4, I want to point out, I was like, no, I don't really care about this series anymore.
Yeah.
I'm past the series.
Let
that
it
was
be done.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, like you point out, 1900.
In the year 1999.
Yeah, right, exactly. 1999. And then 2000, 2003 was the second, I'm done. I'm past this.
Yeah.
It's now 2021.
Yeah.
Right.
Some time has passed.
I watched one trailer, part of a trailer. I was out. The trailer had one of my favorite trailer songs of all time in it. The Alice in Wonderland song. I forgot the actual name of that song. Can you wonder?
It's called White Rabbit.
Yes, White Rabbit. Yes, of course. Right. And I love that. That song is a perfect song for previews. There's like 3 songs for previews that I love more than it. That House of the Rising Sun is another one that like I will see anything as long as it has House of the Rising Sun as the preview.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the third, but nonetheless, I saw the preview and I was like, and then it had Doogie Howser, and I loved what they were approaching here. Like, did this really ever actually happen? What, blah, blah, blah. Everything that was being set up, I was like, I'm now intrigued.
Interesting. Okay.
I was out, and I only watch previews for movies I'm out on.
Okay.
So now I'm like, you got me. I'm in. Not watching any more trailers.
Yeah.
So I knew the littlest bit. I had no idea who was going to be in it besides Neo, Trinity, and him.
Yeah.
But I said to you or somebody else, if this movie doesn't have Agent Smith in it, fuck this movie. I'm out on this movie.
Yeah, I think you
this
said
better
to
have
me.
Agent Smith.
Yeah,
in it.
and then I told you
it's not going to have.
It's not going to have Agent Smith
Right.
in it. Yeah.
So we go to this movie now.
Yeah.
Movie. I sit down. I watch this movie, and I'm not like Dune. I'm like, okay, I'm only watching this movie. All right. And I'm like, all right, let's get it going here. I love the opening. The opening, I was like, this reminds me of Terminator 3.
By the way, spoilers. We're just going to go into spoilers.
Yes, sorry. We're jumping right into spoilers. This movie's been out for 2 fucking months.
Yeah.
I love the opening. It's like a mirror to the original opening, except for it's a different Trinity.
Yeah.
And
a little different.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely adore things like this. I don't know why, but I love when movies do this because they've done this with the Terminator movie too, where it was like slightly different or whatever, but it's a time shift thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Love that type of shit. I don't know why it hits me every time, but it's like perfection, especially when the attention to detail is so perfect.
Yeah.
Like in on it. Okay. Then it's like the Morpheus. I liked how they created this Morpheus character. Then I was thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on here? Mm-hmm. Is this like a Marvel thing where this is a parallel universe or something like that, and they're showing us how Morpheus came to be or some shit, and Morpheus is the main character of this one? I was like, okay, this is weird, but I'm with it. Mm-hmm. And then it jumped over, of course, to Keanu doing his thing, and I was like, okay. Then it introduced Keanu's boss. Okay.
The New Smith.
New Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, did you ever watch Mindhunters?
Yeah, I've seen the show.
That's him, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fuck, I love this guy.
Interesting.
He's so awesome in Mindhunters. Can't wait to see what he does here.
Yeah.
I want to point out, I had no idea this was New Smith. Okay. And then things start happening, right? And then he reveals himself, and then there's like, Mr. Anderson. And I was like, money on the table.
Oh,
I'm like,
really? Interesting.
I love this. I love everything so far. All the action, all the fucking things go on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play my hand right now. I absolutely loved this movie, and I was shocked that I love this movie.
I'm shocked.
Every person who saw this movie,
I hope everybody understands how shocked I am in this moment.
Every person
I was going to be defending this movie all the fucking this whole episode.
reached out to me Two people reached out to me and go, hey, just so you know, I watched The Matrix, so you don't have to. Okay?
Yeah, it's bad. Don't watch.
It's terrible pile of shit. Yeah. Another person was like, it's fine-ish, not good. Fourth person was like, it's dog shit. It's absolutely terrible. Mm-hmm. So I went into this with these people's opinions. And by the end of the movie, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This movie was fucking awesome. Now, there was only one person I could talk to because he was like, it's not going to win any awards, but I enjoyed it. So I was like, what didn't you love about this movie? I loved this movie. Yeah. I could not believe... At a certain point, at about an hour and 20 minutes into this movie, I was like, all right, now it's going to turn to dog shit. Because everybody's telling me it's dog shit. Now I'm ready for it to turn. I've loved everything, but now please turn into dog shit.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. And I was like, dude, like everything from like like I thought the dude who played Smith, that guy from Mindhunters, was amazing as Agent Smith. Like everything, like I thought his mannerisms and things like that were so like exactly what I wanted in this, because it was like
because it wasn't Smith anymore,
right?
Yeah.
It was like Looper. Did you ever see the movie Looper?
No.
The Rian Johnson. Okay. In that movie, there's Bruce Willis, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt also plays Bruce Willis, and he's like so,
young Bruce Willis.
But different, right? And that's how I felt with this. I felt like he has the like feeling of Smith, but in this new character version of Smith. Yeah. And I loved it. I loved him. I thought he was awesome. I loved all the stuff with like the old character. Like I liked Jada Pinkett, Jada Pinkett now. I thought she was great coming back into
divorced?
It. Yeah, they divorced, I think, a while ago.
No.
It's
anyway.
We have no way to figure it out.
Whatever.
So, because it's 1999, we don't have a way to figure out if they're divorced or not. So, I thought Doogie Howser as like the villain was really fun.
No, they're still married.
Okay, I was wrong. All right, I thought they were like getting divorced or something, or he cheated, and it must have been like he cheated, and they fucking whatever. Who gives a fuck? Yeah. Anyways,
they've been married since '97. Holy shit!
You know, then they've been married since Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West. Yeah, man, it was just like I thought the action was awesome.
Yeah,
I thought the fighting. I thought like the whole like juxtaposition of the importance of Trinity to the story was like really cool. Away from it just being a Neo story, I thought that was pretty fun. I thought the
Merovingian,
him coming back was like mind blowing.
As like,
I was
like destroyed, old, like just angry, fucking old, irrelevant
dude. Just the whole, like, I don't understand why people would watch it. Like, I can't explain what a person wanted watching this movie. Like, if you were an old fan, why you would be disappointed? Because I'm like, they weaved in all this old shit into this new. And, okay,
so
there's
I
one
love
thing.
The movie.
Okay,
wait, full disclosure.
Sure,
I love the movie, but I'll point out some things I didn't like.
I'm going to point out something I didn't like too.
Yeah,
one thing I absolutely hated. When they reveal why they weren't able to find Thomas Anderson was insane to me, okay? Because they're just like, we put a different face over you. His name's still Thomas Anderson. Like, I thought to myself, here's what I thought, okay?
Yeah, but then, so like, his name is Thomas Anderson.
Yes.
If you go and find Thomas Anderson, it's like, oh, no, never mind, that's not you. There was no way to read that was
He
him.
worked for a fucking company that made the Matrix video game.
Sure. But, like, according to them, Thomas Anderson was dead.
There's no way you're going to explain this to me to make me feel like this. So, okay.
I actually liked it. I
hated it.
Maybe we'll go back and forth a little bit on it.
And here's why I think they could have done a much better job. Here's what you do to make this scene awesome to me and actually work.
Okay.
And this is what I thought was going to happen. And when it didn't, it was just that they masked him. I was like, okay. You've bought enough goodwill. I'll continue on with the movie at this point.
I know that feeling very well.
Right, exactly. But I thought it would have been much cooler if they were like the machines or whatever that made the Matrix, made multiple, like if you've ever played WoW or something like that, there's like version 1, and then when the expansion comes out, there's version 2, and then each edit that they make is like version 2.01, 02, 02. And I thought if they had something like that, where there's all these levels to the Matrix, and they had to figure out which edit he was actually like filed on so they could actually get him and pick him out of it, I thought that would have been a really great way to like mask where, because they kept on like reformatting the world to like cover up where he was and stuff like that. Yeah. That would have been perfect to me. But like, yeah, just putting a mask on him was very silly to me.
Yeah. So the thing that I didn't like about the movie was Morpheus and Smith.
Okay. You're gonna have to hit me with how you possibly could not like Smith.
Yeah, so
dude, I teared up and I fucking stopped, put my thing down, paused it, and cheered when he was like, you know the difference between me and you? You could only be you while I could be anyone. And then he like changes and then he walks away. I was like...
Yeah. So the reason that I didn't like their portrayal was because there was too much of a separation between their original characters and them. And specifically how seriously they took themselves. I'm
going to have to take great umbrage with you saying that about Smith. So you're going to have to really dig into what you mean by that.
Yeah, so in the first movies, Smith and Morpheus, like everybody. This movie was wacky, the very first movie. The first 3 movies were wacky. There was wacky shit happening all over the place. But none of the characters treated like it was wacky shit. Every single character was so serious about the situation. It was so like, this is a fantasy, but man, are these people treating it like it's not. Everybody was very like serious, and there was like weight to it. And I love that about those characters. Smith was always about his fucking business in a very Smith kind of way, and Morpheus especially was very serious. He was never a jokey kind of guy. And in this movie, I felt like both of them were so like tongue in cheek.
I cannot agree with you even slightly that Agent Smith wasn't that way in the past. Like, I felt, especially in the third one, he was all about jokes and like little plays on words and things like that. Yeah, dude, go back and watch that movie. You have not watched that movie in a while.
I have.
He's like constantly like cracking little smiles and stuff like that. Like, I feel the polar opposite of what you're trying to say about. Are you sure we're talking about Agent Smith, who later just became Smith?
Okay, so anyway. Smith makes maybe one joke, you know, in the third movie. No, in the second movie, he makes one joke. And in the third movie, when he absorbs the Oracle, he laughs. So maybe that's what you're talking about, him being like.
I mean, that was great too, but that's another.
But he doesn't. In this movie, he's like, I don't know. There was just a different. It was like none of them were taking it. Well, just them
I think
two.
It's in part.
I feel like those two characters specifically just weren't taking themselves seriously.
I think
not
okay.
Like
so
Morpheus,
here's the thing.
Not like Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving. I felt like both of them took that role so seriously, and they were so really trying to embody this very serious, dour kind of focused about their business character. And then these characters were like
a different age too.
They were
I don't
like
think
jokey
you want to.
And kind of like.
I think
everybody else was the same. It was just them two.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think for one, you have to look at what they were doing in the 90s, right? Which was in part doing a film about, coming out as
trans.
Whatnot. Yeah, trans person, right? Which was and they were masking it behind these like what is that?
Okay, so
what is that thing called? Emo or not emo, but like the black goth, and all that stuff. Yeah, goth like look.
Okay, hold on.
Totally.
Hold on. No, hold on.
Black trench coats, dude.
Yes, yeah. Hold on. I understand that reading.
Okay,
I get it. But you cannot convince me, and the Wachowskis will not convince me, that and actually, the Wachowskis have addressed this, where they said some part of the narrative we created maybe was influenced by thoughts that I had been having, or maybe repressing, or maybe combating. But explicitly, this movie was not that. Now,
Which movie? This movie?
no, The Matrix and the allegory, right? I think it's awesome that a trans person made these movies. I think it's awesome that they get to own the narrative. I love that. But they themselves have come out and expressed that this was not that. Now, was it maybe influenced by some of that? Absolutely. You know, we are all influenced by what we've got going on inside. But
that's what makes
this
us
movie
these artistic people.
Explicitly an anti-capitalist movie. This movie was an allegory against capitalism. It was a very anti-capitalist, specifically anti-corporate movie.
But wait a second.
That's what
are you sure?
That's the allegory.
Are you sure that it's anti-capitalist and it's not actually anti-communism like the Squid Games are? Because the directors don't actually know what they created. It's what's in the vision. Fucking idiots.
Yeah. No, this movie actually this movie, I feel like I've grown into it.
It can be multiple things, though.
Exactly.
I think that's
now,
important.
That's specifically what this movie addressed. This movie, like when they were like, well, the Matrix has got to be this, and the Matrix has got to be that. There's got to be action, and no, there's got to be. It's because it has come to mean different stuff to everybody. This movie has been with us for fucking 30 years now, and so it means so much to every single person. But this is an anti-capitalist movie.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with that. And
maybe I'm just coming at it because now I'm like this.
But I want to point out, like, okay, Agent Smith is something else, though, too, right? Because, like, important part of Agent Smith is he breaks out of the Matrix, or he breaks out to be his own thing in the old films, right?
Yeah.
Because he has a part of Neo imprinted on him. That's like the thing, and that's what helped him like gain his sentience and like become his own thing. That he's trying to do his own thing outside of the Matrix now. Well, no, I mean that's pretty clear, dude.
No. His entire story and every single time he talked was specifically about knowing that he has to play a role, and his role is, you know, like his purpose is to, you know, just take over everything. But he wasn't doing his own thing. He just realized he had a role to play that wasn't what the machines wanted for him. So his own thing, but he was like his whole. So every single diatribe he went on was about determinism.
Now it leads to this one where he's pretty clear. He's like, I've now gained like my freedom,
sentience,
right?
Full
in
liberty.
His own, right? Exactly. And he's like, I'm not going back. Like, so that was one of one of the guys who hated this movie was like, nothing Agent Smith did at the end made sense. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, at first he's like, Neo, you better stay out of my way, otherwise I'll fucking kill you too. Basically, is what what he's saying or whatnot. But then he creates like a team up. But then once everything's solved, he walks away. And I'm like, no, that makes perfect sense. Our storyline, he does not want to give up his sentience, his freedom. And if I don't think they really name him, but Doogie Howser.
What do you mean they didn't name him?
What is it? Does he have a title?
He was the analyst.
Oh, okay. My bad. So if the analyst wins, he loses his sentience, or he gets basically reformatted or whatever, right? Yeah. And so he's going to do whatever he can to stop that from happening. Yeah. And he momentarily works with Neo for a second, and then he's like, all right, our friendship is now over with because the enemy of my enemy is... I mean, how many fucking stories are there like that? The enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Also, you're right. He just didn't want to be locked in a prison.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to the Mario da Vinci or whatever, right? He's the same way. He's like, even though he's a fucking bum by this point, well, he's also... He
was stripped of his power. He was stripped of his...
That's right.
Because because his whole thing is also power is what dictates determinism. Yes. And the more power you have, the more you can exercise your will across other people.
Of course, yeah.
But like his whole thing was always very contradictory because again, these movies, the philosophy behind these movies is all deterministic. Mm-hmm. It's like the two movies, Reloaded and Revolutions, were just like philosophical symposiums. Like it was just like you're sitting for a couple of hours just listening to philosophy talks, which is what I ended up liking about them. But the Merovingian specifically is talking about determinism, and then he's also talking about his own influence across determinism, which are very contradictory.
So wait a second, what is he supposed to like? Okay, because if you have this capitalist metaphor here, what exactly is he supposed to be then? Like a crime lord in under capitalism that's operating, or like a arms dealer basically that's like skating the rules to like gain all this wealth and power?
No, he's just a billionaire.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like he's just like, he's not the system.
Yeah,
but he's a beneficiary of the system and perpetuates the system because it benefits him.
Okay,
like and
all right, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, that's kind of what that's kind of what it felt like. Because the rest, right, Smith and the machines, they were the the capitalist system,
right? And
the Merovingian was just an
someone working within it, and he's like, yeah, no, I'll do that.
This works for me,
right?
Like this.
So I want to point out why the Matrix is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, all of that is there, while also not being there.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is,
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's actually why I was going to talk about the post-Merovingian stuff being the fun stuff.
Sure.
Because that's all the action.
Yeah.
You don't have to give a shit about any of the allegory. That's just the fun
I
stuff.
guarantee you, when I was a kid watching this, not a kid, but a young adult watching this movie, I didn't understand any of that shit that you just explained, right?
Yeah, neither did I. Absolutely not.
It was until I was older that I could see certain things and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's what makes this great, is because you can have a movie that's a fun action film with a much deeper story.
I think that's why I enjoyed this movie in the way that I did, because when I came to this movie, I didn't need any action. You didn't have to give me any action. Sure. I expected action, and they gave you some action, but I didn't want it. I didn't need it. I was here for the story and the allegory.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You want some action, because otherwise without action, you just become V for Vendetta.
Yeah, I love that movie. I fucking love V for Vendetta.
I think that movie is... Not only do I find that movie terrible, but I literally hate anyone who posts on Facebook, remember, 5th of November.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to be cringe with that.
Yes.
With that movie generally. And I think that there are
It's like Joker pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that there are some very cringe takes about V for Vendetta, but I love V for Vendetta. That's a super comfy movie for me. I fucking love it. I love the narrative of it too. Like I like the
another DC film that you enjoy. Interesting.
What's wrong with that?
I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. So actually,
I should point out you love Watchmen and the Watchmen TV show.
I didn't love the Watchmen movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You love the Watchmen TV show.
The comic book and the TV show were good. The Watchmen movie was neat.
Right.
But anyway,
fine-ish.
I didn't need the the action was fine. I enjoyed the action, but I was there to just hear like if you gave me a movie where it was Neo, and like just having things explained to him, and the analyst and the architect from the third movie just kind of talking to each other, I would be like, I would just have a big smile on my face because I just
that's an HBO television show.
Yeah,
that's
but what I'm saying is like I came for the allegory, I came for the philosophy, I came for the story, I came for the narrative, and it's funny how the stuff that I enjoyed as a kid was so fun for me, and then when I was just kind of like, this is actually a little shitty and boring, I was just like, but wait a second. What about all these talks, like where like Counselor Hammond? Because people are just like, oh my god, the eye roll when Counselor Hammond is talking to Neo about like how the machines keep us alive and blah blah blah. I was just like, have you listened to that? That's like that talk on like cause and effect and a back and forth and relationships between things that like are inert and aren't, and what's really necessary. Like, that's a fucking awesome conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever like listened to it? So many people have this like, it's so boring, dude. The Matrix has a little bit for everybody.
You know what? It's to me. You know what I would compare this to also is another great one that does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
The 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Yes.
When I first saw those in the theater, for starters, I thought every Hobbit scene was the most boring fucking shit ever.
Yeah,
I was just like, get past all this Shire bullshit.
Yeah.
You know. Now, as an adult, that's some of my favorite shit. The Shire shit, the fucking, the soft side of everything, the reason to be living, though, you know, all this stuff is so much
the
more.
Stuff you're fighting to protect.
Exactly that, right? Yeah. It's so much more important than any of the other shit.
How could
later
you
on.
care about the rest?
Right,
What the fuck does it matter?
exactly.
What would be the point of the rest if you didn't have this?
It very, in the same way of the Matrix, it very well displays how as you age, and if you're willing, and you're not going to Trump rallies, to continue to learn and continue to expand your mind and erase one of the things that we've talked about before is people who are like, when they're wrong, they double down on being wrong rather than erasing the wrong and then replacing it with the now or with the truth. We've discussed this a bunch, and it's like, if you're going to be a better person, you have to erase and grow, constantly grow, right? Or you just get to be one of those people who keeps their head in the sand and they're like, no, that's wrong. I'm not wrong, right? And I feel like that's the same thing here with this movie, right?
I do feel that, the talk about complacency in this movie was super important.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what this movie was talking about is how they took an originally like revolutionary inspired anti-capitalist, anti-corporate allegory, and then they commercialized the fuck out of it and made a lot of money on an anti-capitalist allegory.
Yes.
And they were talking about how the machine will take whatever you give it and extract money out of it. Oh, you don't like capitalism? Let's make money off of you not liking capitalism. And I really loved how they were talking about how if you become complacent in that machine, you can feel very good and very successful about your anti-capitalist media while also
fueling it.
Yes,
exactly.
which I thought was a beautiful fucking like metaphor. You know, like this movie was really speaking to a lot of what's going on over the last fucking and the real
20
gripes
years
that we have with ourselves about it. Because there's a lot of people who want to do something and they turn to consuming the quote right media and thinking the quote right things, but that's not enough if it's still just perpetuating the machine.
Right.
And that's a struggle that people who want change deal with every day. The inability to escape the real power of the machine, where even if you're really against it, they're going to find a way to commodify it.
Of course.
You know, like that's a really cool, powerful thing to have to interact with, engage with.
We see it all the time on like Facebook, right? You have people on Facebook who are like anti-Democrat. They're these Republican people and whatnot. And I don't want to pick on Republican people, but this is just an example.
You see a
Because
lot
there's just
on
as
the
many
left, too.
idiots on the left,
Yeah,
too. Right, but you'll have people, I want to speak to this specifically. You'll have people out there that are these Republican, anti-Democrat, anti-liberal, because liberals are communists, liberals are this and that and right and that. And then they'll have ads on there that are broadcast to them, selling them shirts that are anti-communist. I'd rather be this and that, blah, 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 and down with the communists or whatever. Literally being sold to them from people from China. Like, people from China are...
Yeah, of course.
It's
the machine will
Yes.
make its money. It
Right.
will commodify every idea you have. It happens on the left too, man.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
so many... And like now, it's unfair to say... Oh, you know, like, you're not a part of the system? Well, why do you live in it? Because we live in it.
Right.
You live in the system.
What is your other choice? Becoming like a backwoods
That's
hillbilly?
what this movie's talking about.
Of course.
Like,
But the movie, in my opinion, is partially talking about
talk about
every
not having
spark
a fucking
helps.
choice.
Right. And every... Like, we talk about this like every voting year and everything like that, where like, it's so easy to go, my vote doesn't fucking matter, because never does a vote come down to one fucking person. But if too many people think like that, we have idiots running things, you know, however you feel on what side of that. I'm guessing if you're listening to us, you've probably either moderate to the left and stuff
but
like that. We
now,
have very...
I don't even think that.
What's that?
Like, now I just don't believe in the system at all.
Oh, of course, man.
Like, now
Let's
I'm
be
just like,
realistic.
no, but that's I feel
We were
like
just talking
that's
last
again
week-
what this movie's talking about.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose is going to be commodified.
I mean, like...
They're going to commodify the left. They're going to commodify the right. They're going to make money.
Yeah.
Whatever they need to say to you for you to think that you're participating, they'll say. Yeah. And in the end, what are you really changing? The fucking system moves on. Neo was a 45-year-old dude taking antidepressants or antipsychotics because he did, like, what he thought he was doing ended up being for nothing.
Right. Yeah. And it's just... Yeah,
like
I don't know,
their
man.
revolutions or whatever, and the only thing was just like, well... We live with the machines maybe a little bit more harmoniously now, but they still got most people locked up. Like, that's like the most you could hope.
The important part with, like, the Jada character, too, right? Because she is one of those people that's like, look,
she
you
was
can't
a
rock
revolutionary.
The boat, right?
Yeah,
yes, exactly. We have something now. You can't continue rocking the boat. This is what we're going to have, right? Like, and if you do that, you could fuck everything up for us, right? Like,
that's the Bernie Sanders and like AOCs that are just like, listen, we got to take what we can get. And like Neo was gone when they were, you know, like when Jada's character was like, like fucking Lenin, you know, like they're like take down the machine, and then he dies and comes back 40 years later, or 60 years later, and she's just like, oh no, you know, don't fucking rock the boat, you know, like we got our little piece of the pie. It's the best we can hope for, and it's so like demoralizing the reality of that because look at the incredible revolutionary things that have happened over the course of the history of this country. Every revolutionary thinks this could be the thing that changes it. And then 50 years later, it's just like, well, you know, we have this and we have that. And it's just like, dude, where was the fire for the real change? And it's the coming to terms with the fact that that's maybe a fantasy.
Well, yeah, and it's
that there's no such thing, that the machine is so powerful, you cannot get to a point where they won't commodify it. Maybe you'll give yourself an inch of breathing room, but the idea that you could really bring down the machine is a fantasy. It's a fantasy. Which is really demoralizing.
I mean, but it's
trust me, that is not a thing I like to engage with.
It's real life when it boils down. You put
it's trying to tell a story about real life,
because, and in the situations in our history, right? Like you look at like African American history in America, right? It's like, okay, we do these things, we lead up to Martin Luther King Jr. You know, it's like, all right, we have everybody marching in the street because it's like we've had enough of these fucking people in Alabama beating the fuck out of black people and doing this and that, and it's all over the TV, and we're all marching and this and that, and blah blah blah, and it's like
written about in history books, like you're changing you're changing the world, you know.
And then the rich people, the mega rich in charge, are like, just give them the voting rights because it's not going to matter anyways.
Because what the fuck do votes matter? Like literally,
doesn't matter, right? Exactly.
Like, literally, it's such a fucking powerful machine.
We're going to give you enough appeasement because humans, if they get a little bit of appeasement, they're like, well, it's better than what we had before.
Yeah,
we're good. Right?
Incremental breathing room between a rock and a hard place.
We were talking last week, and I don't want to make it too political, but that's what this movie basically is. We were talking about it last week with a friend of mine and me about like how it's like, is really anything better under Biden now than it was under Trump last year, right? Exactly. It's like if in some ways it is worse under Biden right now than it was under Trump. Like, I know, and I'm not going to be one of these these fucking idiots that are like, gas prices and blah, 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 right? But it's like, at best, it's just like even with what Trump was kind of at. But like the virus ain't much better other than it's naturally declining over the time of it, right?
I think maybe it's because of my age.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm in my 30s now.
Yeah, you're getting there.
But I have never been more let down by a president.
Yeah, how could you be let down? You expected nothing.
And yet. I expected more than this.
I'm just like, literally.
Because of the push. Because of the, like, this is our last chance to save democracy. Right. And it's just like, okay.
Eric, I realized something. We literally talked about this last week. Every next election is the last chance to save democracy and some other
but it's
bullshit.
because they've commodified our real idealisms. You know, we genuinely want some things to improve, regardless of which side you're on, and they commodify that.
Yeah, of course,
to just keep themselves, you know, fed, fat.
Yeah, nothing's going to change. It's like you have to have something, and like think about the times in history where there has been massive upheaval, right? Because America's never had that. Okay, the closest they've gotten was the Civil War, but the Revolutionary War is really
the last time there's been the closest we've gotten is the Civil Rights Movement, I think.
Sure, but
without it actually happening,
right? I was going to say
because the Civil War had actually happened.
Yes, yeah. But the Civil War was definitely a weird thing where it was like. It was basically a fight over money. It's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I mean, what it boils down to, right? Yeah. Like, the Revolutionary War was also a fight about money, right? Like, when I think of things that are like massive upheavals where you completely change the system, okay? Because we've never done that, where we've completely changed the system. And historically, it's very rare that it's happened.
I don't know. I'd say that the Civil Rights Movement did.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, okay. It changed the system. Kind of, you know, like with a wink, because I do think that making it illegal to be explicitly racist, did have some benefit, right?
I
think that it was objectively worse when you could explicitly be racist.
I would be lying.
I don't think that it really changed much, because now you just have to be implicitly racist and get away with it. You know, like...
And then it's, as of, we were talking about this in the NFL with NFL coaches recently, like how, like, this guy's suing the NFL right now because he couldn't get a coaching job because he's black and he got fired early and blah, blah, blah. And then I had one guy who, of course, is on the right wing. He's like, well, you can't prove discrimination. Exactly. Thank you for, like, we all know it's fucking discrimination, but you can't prove discrimination.
Exactly it. Now you have to be tactful about it. You have to be implicit about it. Same thing with slavery.
Yeah.
We outlawed slavery in this country. This country is a slave state.
Of course.
This entire country is built on the backs of the poor. It's literally, COVID has showed me more than anything else that this country runs on the bones of the poor. Mm-hmm. How many people do you know that just refuse to take a COVID test because they cannot afford not to go to work?
Yeah.
If I take a COVID test and I can't suddenly go to work anymore, I can't pay my shit.
Right.
So it is in my best interest to just be fucking sick and just not know.
Yeah.
And that means spread it.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Zombie apocalypse.
You gotta go to the fucking job, that's why it's so, like, to me, it's just like, well, this is a freak. This is not. This is slavery. This marginally better than it was before.
It's also important
after the Civil War.
It's also very, very important to point out, if you have a massive change of a system, because even compared to the civil rights, I don't compare that to the same as like the Russian Revolution, right? Or like the Chinese Revolution, or Japan when it fucking, like, where basically the entire country is at war with itself and many people have to die for it to flip.
But even in those situations,
I
don't know too much about the China one.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn. But with the Russia one, when they like toppled the oligarchs and all that, didn't it kind of just stay the same? It just kind of switched powers.
No, it definitely changed things to communism, which were for better or for worse. It's I don't know how to, like, it's weird though, right? Because, like, no matter who you are in the low end, nothing's changing for you. When it boils down to it, I hate to say that, but it's pretty much true, because on the low end of Russians, during their pre and post, it's like people were starving to death, dying, and then afterwards people were starving to death, dying. So like
honestly, the allegory for this movie is so powerful because at some point you have to start to engage with the idea that the system will mask itself as a lot of things, but will always fundamentally be the same. And capital is so powerful that there's no shortage of ways it can deceive you into thinking that it's not there anymore. Yeah. But it just always is and can't be changed.
Right.
Like, it'll write history books about revolutions and it'll write history books about great leaders. It's the same. It can't change. It's too powerful. It's too big.
Yeah.
And when you cut out your own little piece, just be happy with that little piece, because congrats. You were able to take an inch away,
Yeah.
And, like, the dream of stopping the fucking machine, that's just for the movies. Enjoy your fucking fantasy, That power fantasy is just when Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss are flying on the screen. Because in reality, you cannot even get that, Can't even get an inch.
Your best bet is just to go be a Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Just walk
live
away,
the way you want,
which is like a libertarian dream.
Yeah, true.
Which is hard. It's hard to engage with all these things because it's so demoralizing. It's so hard to really cope with. It's things that even people who are engaging with it on a daily, have to kind of keep in the back of their own mind, because, like, how much victory can you really have? Like, how much victory can you really expect after a lifetime of trying to maneuver in it?
Yeah.
And then you have to come to grips with, like, okay, well, then do I participate harder and just, like, add to the oppression? And, like, how do people not, like...
Well, we talked about this before. Like, do I start buying houses? Because that's the
easy way to do it,
That's the way that I can make wealth for me and my family.
I gotta participate in the system anyway. Fuck it. Like, I'll just participate fully, and at least I'll have a comfortable life while I'm alive. Yeah. I feel like that's such the decision that people make, especially the older they get.
It's easy.
Because when you're young, you haven't been under the boot so like viscerally for very long, and so it's easy to be like this like spry young I'm gonna change the world kind of person. But by the time you're in your 30s 40s, you've been under that boot for so long that you just go, I'm fucking done.
When I was like 28 9-ish years old, maybe I was 30, right around there, I worked for a guy who was from Tunisia. Okay. He lived in Tunisia and he eventually migrated here. Okay. And at the time, I remember the Tunisian government was being overthrown by the people. All right. And he was talking to me about it. And he was like, you have these, and he had a thick accent still. He was like, you have these fucking Americans here. They always think, it's so bad and I will overthrow this or overthrow that and blah, 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 because I don't have, I don't have this connection to the internet or I don't have this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's like, the fucking difference over there? We don't have clean water.
Yeah.
The fucking people here are like, I have to show a COVID thing to be able to do this or do that or whatever. To fly in a plane, I gotta wear a mask. I'm gonna overthrow the government. It's like the people who actually do that, like, can't live. Like, literally, they don't have water or food.
Very good about knowing where to stop.
Of course.
That's why very good about it.
It's like, that's why, like, we talk about, like, homeless people, right? Most homeless people are almost all, like, have a mental illness or something like that. It's because even
or an addiction that turned them into homelessness caused by the fucking system.
Yes. But, like, if you are, like, even if you're poor, like, there are systems here. You might not know about them, but you should find out about it. If you're poor and you're listening to this, I don't know how, but if you, like, don't know, there are systems who, at minimum, feed you, house you, take care of your basicest of needs.
Kind of.
I mean, there is
a lot of work there.
You have to get on lists and stuff like that. But like Section 8 housing, there's all this stuff
but there's still tons of requirements. We make it difficult for them.
Of course. I mean, that's what we're going to try.
This country is not a country charity.
No, we're going to do the least possible
and make it very difficult.
Right, to keep right. Well, because if we make it harder for you,
Florida intentionally made its welfare system impossible to navigate so that they could show on books that there weren't a lot of people on welfare because that's bad for them. That's bad for the numbers. So they just made the system fucking terrible to navigate so that you started and you were just like, I don't even know how to fucking do this. Like, I'd rather not. And then they could be like, hey, we don't have a lot of people on welfare. Yeah, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, you have plenty of poor people.
This country is not a country that's trying to help.
Well, it's like, dude, we talk about fucking jobs.
But that's exactly, this is the Niobe thing, right?
Yeah.
We are forcing them with everything that we have for them to give us a fucking inch. And then they're going, you should be happy with that inch. And should we be?
Well,
I feel like maybe we should be happy with that.
You do when you also have those same people going after half of the people going, those other people are trying to steal from you.
Well,
they're trying to take from you.
But that's the real game.
Of course.
The real game is how do we get people to not ask for things?
Yes.
Once you finally fucking force their hand, they'll be like, okay, here's some crumbs.
Yes. But like you point out, though, we've gone for years. Like I saw a meme on Facebook that was like, the idea of unskilled labor is just rich people trying to put down, poor, lesser people or whatever. It's this capitalist bullshit. Like, oh, you're unskilled labor, so you should only make $8 an hour or whatever, right? Things like that. It's all bullshit, of course. But I think it goes back to that line from Gangs of New York, dude. If anything ever gets too bad, we'll just pay half the poor people to kill the other half of the poor people, right? I mean, like, that's really what it all boils down to. Yeah. All right, man. So I gotta say, for this movie, I really enjoyed this movie.
Me too.
Now we've talked about this movie.
It let me engage with all these things again after some time.
Agreed. Talking about this movie, I like it even more.
Yeah.
So I really think this was a good movie. I don't understand the dislike for this film. Maybe it was people that were just like, I expected better special effects because the original was so much better.
As good as he did.
Right, like, exactly. That's another thing I wanted to point out that I loved.
Yeah.
I loved Smith whooping his ass in the beginning because you know what it reminded me of?
What?
It reminded me of Bane fucking up Batman.
Yeah.
Like where you've gotten soft now and all this time and shit like that. I haven't gotten soft.
Actual machine.
Right, I've still kept where I'm at.
Yeah.
Peace and victory has cost you strength, and now what is wrong with you? You used to beat the shit out of me, and now it's not even a fight. So I really thought that was cool, little part to the film too. So overall, you should probably, if you haven't seen it, man, I don't know why, it's free on HBO, and if you don't have HBO, you're making mistakes.
The I forgot what Roadshow, whatever, Village Roadshow is suing HBO because they're just like, we didn't make any money because you released it simultaneously.
HBO is going to have to start sharing more money with these other people.
Honestly,
because this is now like multiple that have been released at the same time where people are like, what are you doing with our fucking productions here, man? But, it's Warner Brothers, dude, because they own it. So
I love how much this movie talks shit about Warner Brothers.
Yeah, man.
Like, that shit was crazy.
Like,
so, really, the Wachowski,
I should talk about how...
I think it was Lana that made this movie. She was like... really talking shit about the whole system, but including and especially by name Warner Brothers.
Yeah. I like that self-awareness.
Yeah.
I like...
But it was almost...
Speaking of another thing like this.
Yeah.
I recently saw Scream 5?
Yeah,
Scream 5.
The newest movie. Yeah.
I really like these things. Yeah. I know, like, they're made specifically for me, so that's probably why I like these. Right? But, like, Scream 5 was pretty damn good overall. And it was funny because they have a lot of, they make fun of Rian Johnson a lot.
Oh, really?
Because, like, the killers in that are, like, pissed off. This is where I got on my rant about true fans the other day, too. I don't know if you saw that, but went off on
Facebook?
How much
I'm
I fucking...
not on Facebook.
Oh, smart man.
I deactivated my Facebook like 3 months ago.
Hate the idea of true fans and people who shit on other people that are fans because they're not true enough fans. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And the thing what set these people off is how bad Stab is the fake movie in Scream about Scream.
Yeah.
Like, they made a movie about the events of Scream, and it was called Stab.
Yeah.
Okay. Stab 8 was it's the worst ever of the bunch and this and that. Yeah. And the director didn't care. And look at these changes he made. And he destroyed old characters we loved and blah, blah, blah. It's just obviously shitting on Rian Johnson.
Very meta what movies are.
Well, Scream's always been that. That's what's
that was
the whole
point of it. Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Exactly. So, in the end, we both love The Matrix, man. I'm glad we pretty much had the same opinion on this one. That doesn't always happen.
I was really surprised because I thought you were going to shit on this movie.
Yeah, exact opposite. I was very pleased with this movie, and was kind of happy to be back in the Matrix world, man.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I like all 4 of the Matrix films. Yeah. That's what it boils down to.
And the Animatrix.
I never watched that, actually.
Oh, you should watch it. I think you'd like it. Yeah,
maybe
it's a good one. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for another fun episode. We'll see you pretty soon here with Blade. That'll be fun.
Blade will be on the main thing, though. So next thing we'll probably do on the Patreon, who knows? We'll probably do something before the Batman. Just drop something, but I don't know what yet. Yeah, we got all kinds of shit coming. Watchmen. Fucking, did you ever throw up RoboCop?
Watchmen. Oh, yeah, all the Patreon stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We got fucking The Mandalorian. We got all kinds of shit coming at you for only $1 a month.
Have an awesome week, guys.